support of I'm not in support in any way ya wizi, pickpocketers or whichever you look at it. But this guy ameiba simu ya shilingi 15,000 anapoteza uhai. Another person steals 15 billion. We line up to clap na kumshangilia. Our national psyche as a people has a huge problem. We saw what happened with Natembea, whether you support Natembea or not. I was reading Boni, I hope Mwangi is here. He has done quite a wonderful job following Natembea's arrest. When I looked at the auditor's report, at least as summarized by Boniface Mwangi, Natembea should be in prison. Some of us who follow what was happening in the Senate last week with the governor for Isiolo, Abdiguyo, with the 32 advisors, he can barely name 4. If I'm your advisor, it means that we need to meet regularly, at least twice a month. I assume. If you don't know my name, then I'm not an advisor. So there is a lot of looting that has been devolved, unfortunately, in the name of devolution, but also looting happening at the national level, which has now created millionaires and billionaires out of Mama Mboga's ile pesa nakatwa. Mtu mwenye anapata shilingi 500 faida kwa siku ama 200. Ile shilingi anakatwa 50. Ndio hiyo inakusanywa yote Kenya mzima, inatosha, watu wanaiba, wanachukua, yani imekuwa ni kama ni zao. And then they are sanitized by the courts. They come back and vie, or they support a particular political position, hoping that they will be baptized and reborn as different people. There were Lucas of this world, my former governor himself, Okoto Bado. He has several cases. In fact, all his sons, 4 of them, they have cases za corruption and money laundering. In fact, there is a day all of them, the entire family, save for the wife, they were in court. That's how pathetic we've become. So until we as people get mad enough, towards the elections of last year, I had a conversation with some young men in my hometown of Mabera. I come from Kuria West constituency. That I told them this, and I can say this: Ruto ni mwizi. You know that guy? What aliniuliza? Aliniuliza amekuibia nini wewe? Then I told him I pay tax. So I didn't say everything, but I said this is the much I pay every year. In tax, but then is paid. Then you come back to business. This is much I pay as VAT. This is much I pay as this is much I pay as corporate tax. Tukishapata faida, ile pesa umepata, of course kuna pesa nakato. Akasema hiyo si yako, kama ameiba pesa si yako. Nikamwambia, how much do you pay mafuta? By then mafuta was 200, I think, and 20 something. Nikamwambia hiyo pesa yenye umelipa mafuta, kuna tax yenye imekatwa, hiyo pesa bado anaiba. So people do not understand, even by mere shopping ya chumvi, sukari na mkate, kuna ile pesa imekatwa, na wasomi ile list wakaangalia VAT imekatwa kiasi hichi. Akatumia gari ambayo akanunua pikipiki ambayo iliweka kutia import duty na vitu vingine. Kwamba that's how they are contributing. People think that the tax ni the few people, the rich people are the ones who are taxed. So even the public, that's why they get mad at somebody kuiba simu, but they have no problem with the kuambia MP aliiba milioni 20. So we as a people, we have a huge responsibility, especially those of us who know exactly where this money, how much change this money can do in the society, to actually let people know that pesa yenye inaibwa inaweza kubadilisha maisha ya watu wengi. I just saw the other day that 5 billion imetolewa kwa pesa exam. Yes, they can have an explanation about that. But I remember when I sat for my KCP sometimes back, even getting that money, by then it was around 350 to the year 2000. It was a problem because we grew up in the village. We didn't grow up in unajua kupata 350 si joke. So of course mnaweza kuwa na kuku zenu, yes, mko na food, yes, but 350 cash is a problem. So you have to organize when utachukua kuku moja by then was like 200, uchukue mwingine watoshe upeleke town, hoping that mtu atanunua. Everybody kwa hiyo town anafuga kuku, so even the market yenyewe ni shida. You know, you have a product to sell, but even the market is there itself is not there. So there are families that I believe, kwa sababu I want to believe KCP will be like 1,300, KCC maybe 5,000 or 5,000. There are families to get even 1,300 or 1,500 will be a problem. So there is a huge problem here where money naibo tunanyamaza, tunaambiwa kwamba, for example, and I said here 1 billion can change a village, a village, an entire village. 200 billion ya Eurobond inapotea. That money can change 200 villages forever. Kabisa. So we need to get mad enough and know that this GDP that we are being sold, this narrative called GDP and income per capita, it is for a few. Because I can tell, even as I say, that our income per capita is $2,700 per year, which is close to 300K plus. That means an average Kenyan earns 30,000 or so thereabout per month. It's not true. People are earning as low as 6,000. If you divide it across households where they have an average people of 4, wife, husband, and 2 children, you will find that Kenyans do not earn anything. There are those who are earning humongous amount of money, genuine business people. I mean, kudos to them. That's good. The Manu Chadaris, those are genuine business people. But these are the guys who are entrepreneurs, looters. We have sanitized in the name of business people. Eti anafanya biashara ni mwanasiasa. No, we need to be serious about this issue. We need to bring back death penalty or capital punishment to corruption, but also expedite the process, expedite the hearing of corruption cases the same way we really care about the Supreme Court hearing of presidential election. Let corruption cases be completed in a span of maybe 6 months, including all appeals. What was serve terms? Thank you very much, I learned. I'm mad about corruption.
Thank you very much. And I thank you for breaking it down to robbery with violence, really, because if you're stealing from a child, true story, there's a woman from Kitui who is serving time in Langata Women Prison because she met a boy carrying bread. And the woman, maybe her head is not okay because snatched the bread from the child, an 8-year-old boy or 10-year-old boy. And then the boy slipped and fell and broke his hand. And the woman was charged with robbery with violence. And now she's doing time in prison. And I think that's the graphic image of why didn't she ask for the bread? Why did she take it by force? Isn't that a bit excessive, the force? It's how the law interprets crime. Yet these white collar crimes, we end up saying, and I just need to clarify before I bring in the next speaker. Professor is in the house, Chacha. I think I can give you an opportunity to repeat the question that was not answered last time before I bring in Nyati. I know
Yes, Professor.
Yes,
No. Professor had a question last time. It was not answered. We have these cases where people who are convicted of corruption or white collar crimes, as my sister Redemptor calls them, once they are convicted and they are sent to jail, they then quickly appeal, and then they seek a bond to have the appeal hearing happening while they are out of prison. So my question was, God forbid, if I murder somebody today, and I know there are so many people who are in prison serving terms because they have murdered people or they have stolen stuff. They then, I understand, I am meant to understand that once you are convicted, it's only after the appeal has been concluded and then absolved of any crime that you can actually get out of jail. That this white collar, quote unquote, crimes, people can, you saw Waitutu himself, he's right now out, I think he alitoka gerezani. He's not serving a term, he's having his appeal being heard akiwa nje. Where do they get this off ramp? Is it okay? Is there what is the jurisdiction in other countries, especially in the region, in the region?
ahead. Asante sana Chacha.
Thank you very much, Redemptor. Chacha, thank you for that very, very strong contribution. Personally, I wanted just to touch on two things. I'll try and connect my submission with yours, Chacha, but if I don't make it, forgive me. Let me just lay my submission. The first thing I wanted to say is Kenyans, that we have to be very clear what we mean when we say we want development in the country. I cannot see a situation where free primary education or free secondary education would give jobs to the people in Kenya, because in the current situation, we already have people who are very well educated, but they are jobless. So the problem that we have at the moment is not so much free education. For me, and pardon me if I'm wrong, I believe that Kenyans want free education. Other countries can get it. We can afford it. But is that the frontline agenda? Is that the main problem? I believe not. I believe the main problem we have is industrialization. The people of Kenya need jobs. This is what the people of Kenya need. And when we start industrializing right now, it means these border people will not only be transporting human beings from point A to point B, they might be transporting commodities between industries, between companies, and actually they might even be mailsmen in the future. Exactly what Wells Fargo does. These people clearly you can see there's no more Mumias. What is it that Kenyans need to do? I believe that necessity is the mother to invention. Right now, if Buhoroni or Chemelil, right now, it is not necessary if Kenya was not importing any sugar, there would be a very huge deficit for sugar in the country. That means all these companies would be able to sell internally. Not only would they be able to sell internally, they'll be able to create jobs for the Kenyan market. Tuko na jua kali sector. Would you believe that in Kenya, or most of the beds that people sleep in Kenya, if you did a ratio, you'd find probably importing things like these pots and pans and sufurias zinatoka China, sijui from where, and yet these things can be made by our own artisans. We already have the skill force to be able to do this. I'm trying to say that the government needs to actually close the doors on importation of specific commodities, and I mean strategically, because you cannot exist alone. You can't just close the door. Kumalizia tu pale, because I understand that specific point about education might actually be, and I expect some come and tell me, no, that's not a problem, I will take it. Investment into how to make work easy. In physics, we call it trying to use mechanical advantage. And they did this. To do so, they made sure that they made steam engines, and on top of that, they made reciprocating engines. And after that, they were able to have these big machines that made work easy. And because they had made work easy, therefore it meant that they But in Kenya, let's not put the cart before the horse. I think the horse right now really is industrialization, and the cart here is the labor. final thing I wanted to say is now to touch on to what Chacha said about GDP. It is true that GDP is a measure of the goods, the goods and services sold within a country within a specific period of time. This could be both services. They could include factors of production, i.e., land, and among other things. Economically, I don't believe the number you see online that is posted saying the GDP of Kenya is blah 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 is accurate. Why? Because most of the Kenyan industries are not documented digitally. Is not online. There's a lot of cash transactions that cannot be quantified. There's a very huge artisan industry in Kenya. I'm talking about when you go into what do you call it, Masai Market. You see all those commodities that are out there. These things are transacted by cash. There's a very huge bulk of the Kenyan economy that is undocumented. So, gentlemen, I believe we are richer than they say we are. We just have to trust ourselves and really industrialize first. I would like to land. Thank you very much, Redemptor. I'm going to say I really appreciate you guys. You're the youth, the people that we need to steer the country forward. And I really again say thank you. I land.
Thank you very much, Nyati. You know, Mumias does produce something. It produces packaging paper written Mumias. And Siji Professor Amanda Wapi is on the speaker panel finally. Maybe you can tell us, is it within manufacturing laws? I don't know about commercial law. When you find a product, it has a margarine, it tells you the content of carbohydrates, sugar, I don't know, all those chemicals written in scientific, what are they called? You know what I mean? How come we are allowing sugar, even supermarkets now have packaging papers? And you know, these supermarkets, and so we end up with sugar with mercury. We have no idea where the sugar is coming from. And that's where Kupenya, in terms of education, I have been very controversial, Nyati. I have said corruption is a national disaster. When Corona came, we closed schools. People stopped everything. In America, young people were having a crisis or just not sure what they want to be. They have a gap year. I honestly believe that this country needs to stop arguing about education. You cannot fix this system with these same people. They have refused to listen. You're saying, oh, return it to the old. Oh, health, take it to the old. I believe we can actually stop arguing about education because you'll be dead. How will you have education? People, it's controversial kama yako Nyati. AI is coming. I taught myself to be a writer through the University of Google and YouTube, and I became a writer. I didn't go to school to learn how to be a writer. So I do believe that athlete who does javelin, I forget his name, he taught himself through watching YouTube. How many of you have taught yourself something through YouTube? So I don't think education is the crisis. The crisis is not knowing ourselves, not knowing that if we don't nationalize our resources like our minerals, we have these perceptions of poverty. Yet these 10 millionaires have made billions by mining. They have mining interest through the back door. So I don't know who was here first. Professor, I have two questions. Can we make a law? Secondly, the abuse of religion. We have freedom of worship, yes. But when the state starts using prayers, tell God, thank you, Almighty God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for these houses. We thank you for the housing levy that people have contributed. Isn't that overstepping in terms of, does the president have freedom of worship on his own capacity? Or now does he come to pray for all of us? Because when I had that prayer, I'm like, come on. So those are some of the things we know. The poverty is from the corruption. But Chacha says very rightfully, we really feel bad when we hear a thief described. I was very happy with this story, and maybe you'll say I'm a sadist. I was told of an armed AP. Alikuwa amesimama somewhere aki-inspect shamba, maybe ni shamba ananunua, and the robbers on a motorbike came and snatched his phone. And that was poetic justice right there, that, you know, you have a bodyguard, you have a gun, but the country is getting to a state where crime is on the rise because of the beggars in the country. So I'll let Flavia go first and maybe make it 3 minutes, and we have Jaiponji waiting. Then Professor Karibu sana to the space. So Flavia.
Okay. Thank you, Redemptor, and thank you everyone for being part of the space and organizing the space. I would like to speak on religion, and then I just touch a bit on millionaire part. Um, and for me, religion is important because it's sort of a personal issue. So around 2021, a close family member was suffering from terminal illness, cancer. And once you are informed it's cancer, of course, it's a state of hopelessness because you know there is nothing that is going to come out of it successfully. I know there are a few success stories, but I personally myself, I have not encountered any. So when that happened, that close family member, we had a pastor in the family, and what that pastor kept doing is coming to tell this person, um, I will pray for you until you're well. Um, and the return for that was every time he would call us and tell us, and somehow, okay, that was my mother, and my mother had told him, of course, how much each one of us earns and all that. So anytime you would come across money, he would call you and tell you, send 10% of this, send 10% of that. And any money you would give to my mother, because she's hoping for healing, she will reach out to the pastor and give that amount to him. Of course, no healing came out of it. But what really made me, like, how I came out of that situation is there are people in life who will weaponize whatever struggle you're going through for them to earn whatever they need to earn. And there is this show online called Itugi, and it's, I think many of you have watched. I love it. It speaks on prison reforms. It talks about changes in prison, and it talks about the life of prisoners. And what they dwell on, if you see the story of most of these people, I'm a pastor. I got out of prison and now I'm a pastor. I believe totally in reform. I believe in second chances. But there's usually a part of me that questions and say, is it that now that you know, if you're still using the wrong ways, the law will deal with you? Now you're using to go and do it through ways that the law cannot reach you. And that is not a possibility that you can rule out. And that's why we will sit in a corner and get surprised. Why would a pastor, a man of God who knows, and he's preaching in maybe Madare, Mkuru, and you know how the situation is really, really bad for the people. How is it possible that this man can be bought by the president, by the political class, and then they are swayed, and then they are moving the whole people they are preaching to hope to vote for this person, yet they know this person is not a good person. But then it takes you to the point where you realize, no, this person is not doing this religion for the sake of spreading good news or morality or making people be better. They are doing it because probably it's the only way they can get money without the law reaching out to them. That is one possibility. I do not rule out the good people, but that is a possibility that is there. And when I look at Ruto right now, I look at him and say he's weaponizing religion. He's realized he cannot tell us hustler versus dynasty because people have seen that is bullshit. It does not work. And what does he do right now? He's weaponizing religion. The same way a smaller man who is a prisoner can weaponize it for his own good and make money, Ruto has realized hustler narrative does not work anymore, and he's weaponizing religion. And that's why he would come and start with a prayer, because one, he knows when you're hopeless, you're easy to believe anything. And second thing, under religion, we are not supposed to question anything. So once he tells us, I am for you, we are supposed to believe him because we are not supposed to question anything. And that really makes me sad. And I do not know if there is much we can do about it because I could not do much with my mother. But I hope as we keep on educating each other and doing civic education, and civic education is not just about the law, just trying to speak to people and tell them the way Chacha said, I pay 10% VAT, you pay this much in fuel, you pay this much, just educating people, then probably they might get to realize that this person is just weaponizing my hope, my religion, and my poverty to foster whatever his self-interest is. And then as a person who comes from Western, Nyati has touched on sugar, and I'm going to touch on it a bit. So I had an opportunity to stay in Japan for a while, and where I went to university is a rice field area. So they plant rice, majorly that's the economic activity of the region. And what that government has done is they have come in, and Japan, you know, Asia has a lot of rice. Japan could easily get rice cheaply from Vietnam, from Thailand, from Pakistan, from all those Asian countries. But what the government has come and done, one, they came in and they decided, they put a cap on pricing. They are the ones who are purchasing the rice from the farmers at a certain price, and then now they distribute it to the country. What that ensures is that city will forever remain economically stable because no rice will be sold at a lower price. And then again, rice coming from outside is not as much because Japan is a closed nation. It's an island sort of. So they are able to detect what comes in and what does not come. Like they are able to monitor and allow what will come in. So the government regulates what comes in. So if you find leaders who are really, really willing to help the people, it's a possibility because these people can choose individually. Let's buy rice from these other countries instead of supporting our farmers, but they choose to support our farmers. And I also have an issue with the government being part of business. You cannot have the government having companies like sugar companies, textile industries, and then you as a government official who is the leader of the country, or maybe the people around you, engage in the same business. Of course, you will give priority to the business and you're going to incapacitate these government industries. So it's quite unfair for the government to engage in a business that the government is engaging in, one. And then second thing, that the government is not regulating the pricing of things so that it can ensure the local farmers will benefit from that. And that's how we get a few individual millionaires, because they give opportunities to themselves at the exemption of the lower people who do not have a voice. So I'm going to land at that.
Asante sana Flavia, and I'm really sorry about your experience. We all have a story about a spiritual exploitation. I see Nyati's hand is up, so I'll let him go first before I bring in Professor Nyati.
Very quickly, I wanted to support what Flavia has just mentioned with one sentence. Most Black people and most Africans are very much pissed off about what white people brought into Africa, which is slavery. They're angry about slavery. They're angry about all the exploitation that the Western the Western world brought into Africa. But very few Black Africans are angry about what else they brought into Africa, i.e. religion. Sijui wanga ni nini. Yaani tunawakasirikia sana kwa sababu walitufanyia nini? Slavery. Lakini hatukumbuki ya kwamba ndio watu enslave walikuja na hii Biblia, na ndio hii Biblia walitumia kutu enslave. Tumekasirika sana na slavery, we remember that, but we never remember that the reason they used to enslave us was religion. Sisemi Mungu hayupo, Mungu yupo 100%, Mungu yupo, lakini walituuzia miungu na wakatuuzia nini? Wakatuuzia Mungu so that they can exploit us. That's all I wanted to say. Flavia, I agree with you. Thanks. I learned.
Thank you very much. That is a can of worms, and one of these days tutaingia kwa hiyo opening the can of worms, because it's very, very, very interesting. The blind obedience you're seeing. No, beggars praying for the president to live a very long time. Before I bring in Professor, because I'm a storyteller, I'll tell you a very brief story. I'm a caterer. In my other life, I'm a chef, I'm a writer. And I used to go to Marikiti market. And the guy who used to help me carry my belongings, alikuwa anaitwa Kasioki. Kasioki was a boda guy. No, at that time he didn't even have a boda. Alikuwa anabeba na mgongo. And every time I would give him 200, I would tip him for carrying, and then and one day he sent me pictures of a house he had built. Story number one. Story number two, I had another guy who was working for me on the grounds. And today he's a very rich man. He became a fundi, he learned how to tile. You know, he's from Mwingi, and the Mwingi produces a lot of masons and fundis. If you employ someone in your house from Mukambani, chances are every Saturday they want to go home. Some even ride home. They go to Salama. Professor would know. I'm going somewhere with this story. So you find this border guy that carries you, that is from Kakamega, has a very beautiful home in Kakamega, but it takes him a whole year. So he lives in Kibera, but he's building a home in Kakamega. To go home, maybe needs 3,000 shillings, 4,000 shillings, back and forth. I don't know, depending on the peak time. But a man living in Kibera, who is from Mwingi, and there are many, has no, you can't entice him with a nimekupatia nyumba. And so our president talks every time about tribalism. And I wish I could find the sound bite, and says, out of the houses I gave in Mukuru, the biggest percentage were to Kambas. To be honest, a Kamba does not need a house as much as someone from Western. Because a Kamba man, I'm telling you, these young men that were working for me, they ended up building homes, very beautiful homes. So every weekend, they go home. So hiyo Kibera anavumilia tu because anajua weekend nitaenda nyumbani. He brought in that conversation and why this was supposed to be a favor for us. So Professor, maybe you can speak to us on that quality, equality, equity, distribution of these houses. What does the Katiba say? And then you answer, I think, our questions. One was from Chacha about the litigation of these corrupt individuals. And then the other question I've asked you is this importation of stuff. Isn't it required? When you manifunza kusema the word stuff, I'm sorry. Isn't it required by law to show where a product is made from? So this sugar we see in all manner of packets saying Mumias here, and we know they're saying the sugar goes as cane to the neighboring country, comes back milled as sugar. We are seeing the sale of these assets, national assets, like those sugar factories. Can the law save us so that we stop being a country of, is it 10 billionaires and 40 million beggars? Karibu, Professor.
Na kushukuru sana, na tena na washukuru wote wale wako katika mazungumzo yetu ya leo, na nafikiri ni Shikuku ndio alisema mwanzo, ni Shikuku ama ni JM Kariuki, one of them, alisema kwamba nchi yetu ni nchi ya milionea 10 na beggars milioni 10. Nafikiri siku hizo hatukuwa wengi. Nafikiri ni JM Kariuki nafikiri. Sasa ngoja na mimi pia niseme story. Wakati wa miaka ya 90 tulipokuwa tunapigania vyama virudi vingi na pia katika kuanza kupigania katiba, tulikuwa tunaenda mahali kwingi Kenya tukieneza hii habari ya sana sana tuseme katiba, kwa sababu mwaka wa 91 tulikuwa tumepata vyama vingi na tulikuwa tunazuiliwa na polisi. Hata tukifanya elimu ya jamii, civic education, vile vile tulikuwa tunazuiwa na polisi, kwa sababu kutoka enzi hizo mpaka wa leo serikali iliko katika mamlaka haipendi wananchi wawe wanajua mambo mengi, sheria nini, haki zao. Na nakumbuka Njoya, Reverend Njoya, tukienda mahali na polisi wametuzuia, anasema kwamba tufanye maombi, na katika hayo maombi hata Gibson Kamau Kuria, katika hayo maombi mtu anasema ajenda yote ile ilikuwa ni tuseme katika mkutano rasmi, anajaribu kusema kwa ufupi, kwa muktasari. Kwa hivyo wakati rais wa nchi anaanza na maombi, amejua kwamba watu watatulia, watu watasikiliza maombi, kwa sababu jinsi tumezungumza hapa, watu wanaogopa Mungu, wanaogopa makasisi, wanaogopa dini, ama wanaziheshimu dini na wahusika hao wakubwa wa dini. Kwa hivyo tujue kwamba ni mtindo kwanza, labda ni mtindo kwanza wa kuzungumza katika njia hiyo, katika maombi, ndio kwanza atulize watu wao hawezi kuanza kuleta vurugu. But also I think it is Flavia who said people believe those prayers, and people, whatever is said in prayer is not the same, because of our culture, is not the same as what is said as political speeches. And so I think Flavia, even before Paul talked about, you know, the issue and what you have said, that religion can be abused. We saw how there was the abuse in, and this is something that Redemptor knows very much, in this guy who is still in court, and you know, it's like they are not able to know what to do. Mackenzie. And of course, because the president used bottom up, so he has to find other tactics, another broad way of being able to engage, you know, citizenry, particularly when he's finding that people are not receiving him well. But I think we also need to understand that when he makes a lot of effort to go to places he knows that people are not going to receive him well, and he still goes and he talks, even when they are shouting, they are throwing shoes and so on and so forth, he knows that those crowds that are forming, he will at some point say, but you Kenyans, you know, you opposition, you saw that everywhere I went, even if there were problems, and problems will be there for any politician, there were crowds and crowds. Therefore, why do you think I couldn't have won? So again, this is very deliberate in my view, knowing the little politics that I know, and he's not going to relent, and he's going to find ways of engaging, you know, people, even under the noses of the opposition. Now, the point about when somebody has been convicted and then they appeal and then they get bond or bail, it is usually what is argued before. In law, it's allowed, but it is, you know, what is argued, like somebody saying, you know, I'm unwell, somebody giving, you know, some reasons, and of course, you can't rule out uh, somebody also influencing, you know, certain judges, because there are some, a few, I don't know, who can still be influenced. But it is something that happens. Our laws are not such. Actually, even for murder, it's bailable. We used to have some offenses which were not bailable, but under the new constitution, there is no offense that you can't be, you know, you can't be given permission to be out, so long as they know that you'll not escape. And sometimes they take your passport, they do stuff like that. But it is possible, for example, for corruption cases, if you are convicted and you are appealing, a law can be passed to say that you cannot. But again, this will contradict the constitution. So it has to be actually a constitutional amendment, and I think I'm right in saying that as the legal position. When it comes to this consumer, the issues of the sugar, you know, and other things that are imported from abroad, and it is not clear their content, and still KEBS passes them. So that's a problem with KEBS, because our constitution is very clear on consumer rights. Actually, it's one of the few katibas on the continent which specifically guarantees consumer rights, so that people can be protected, so that you don't get, like, you know, if it's those things that are coming out, you don't get sugar coming from somewhere else, then it is put in, you know, some of those plastic things, although they were supposed to be banned, and you don't know what else it's mixed with, and all that kind of you know, stuff. But you see, we have this basic problem. We have many laws to deal with many things that give us problems. But the question is there a culture of those laws being followed? And that becomes a big problem. And you know, KEBS has to, we have to ask KEBS, you know, what's happening. And of course, there has to be advocacy. I think there are some NGOs which deal with consumer rights. Now, if I can come back briefly to the broad question that we were discussing, account of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. Unajua, tukitaka kusema ukweli, siasa za Kenya zinafanywa hapa juu, zinafanywa na the elite who compete for power, na wao wanajua hata wakati wanaonyesha raia kwamba hawako pamoja, wanatia nguvu nyingi sana kuonyesha kwamba kuna serikali na kuna upinzani wanalumbana, lakini baadaye kura zikiisha, muda mwingi wanakuja pamoja. Inakuwa kwamba sasa kama sasa jinsi mambo yanaendelea, Raila na rais wako pamoja, na kwa kweli ukiangalia wote wahusika wao wote, hakuna huwezi kusema kuna mmoja hajafanya kazi na wengine kutoka hizo enzi za KANU mpaka wa leo, na wanajuana na yetu tunasema nini na nini. Wao wanajua kwamba hata mmoja akiwa ameshinda, still they'll find a way of working together. But then the raia, when they see this, in parliament, they are, fighting and they are calling each other names and they are doing stuff. Raia wanafikiri kwamba kuna upinzani mkali, na hao watu wakichaguliwa watafanya vizuri. But again, all the quote principles have been in government at those minister levels, at those big levels. So swali ni kwa nini hatuoni tofauti kila wakati? All these wahusika wako katika serikali. Sasa miaka 60 imeisha na inji inaendelea to be in a bad situation. Kwa hivyo kuna hawa sasa mnaoita millionaires na wamekuwa billionaires, hawa ni walala hai kwa ujumla. Wao maisha wanaponda, wanaendelea, na hata wakati mnafikiri wanalumbana, sio hivyo. Na sasa kuna hao wengine wa katikati wanaitwa walala heri, na hao walala heri ni the middle class, imelala, wanafikiri wana vitu vidogo vidogo, na sisi wengi tuko katika hiyo class. Hao wako katika space na nini, wengine wako ng'ambo. Walala heri kwa sababu tunajua bado tuna maisha, tuna matumaini, lakini mambo yanaendelea kuwa mabaya na inachukua muda mrefu tukikaa huku kando, inji ikiendelea kuharibika na hatujitokezi. Na hata ndio watoto walikuwa wakisema kwamba wanataka sasa gen zote ziingie katika uwanja. Na actually the fact that it is young people who rose to say that things are not good, it's an indictment to the rest of us. We should be ashamed. And even as things were going south and they were being attacked and all that, still we, the walala heri, were still sitting home, wondering, has my child gone out? Will my child come back? I have to tell my child this is too dangerous, and so on and so forth. And I even, a friend of mine was telling me today, somebody who is high up, that watoto wake walienda bila yeye kujua. Hata walikuwa wakipewa pocket money, wanajaribu kusaidia wale wenzao katika barabara huko streets. Na sasa halipo nyemelea sana ndio ajue ni kwa nini. Wakasema kwamba unajua, sisi hata tukiwa tumetoka katika mahali tuna nyumba nzuri, kuna utajiri wa wastani, tusipofanya hivyo tutapoteza marafiki, na utakuwa wewe unaambiwa kaa peke yako, kwa sababu wewe tulipokuwa lakini lazima tuelewe kwamba ufukara this poverty is actually a necessary tool for subjugating our people, and it is perpetuated so that there is a strategy of making that people are poor. They, they come to you, they are begging, their spirit is crushed many of the times, and therefore you can control them. But when people are very advantaged, then they have, when you go to them, they ask you, what policies do you have to make us even be in a better position? And they are difficult. They are difficult to rule. That is why abroad, many of the times, there isn't one party which wins conclusively, and they have to do those four more coalitions, because it's not easy for any party, to win conclusively. And I think the point that, as one lands, our leaders, have known that what you do with the youth, make sure that they have their miraa, their mkuka, their drugs, their that cheap alcohol. Make sure that their education is very diluted. Make sure that they have no health, they have no work, they are disempowered. Then come election time, and not even election time like now. Like now, we have seen pictures of these young people queuing for handouts. And one can say, they will just queue, and then after they queue, they will go and vote wisely. But the truth of the matter is, some of the strategies used
We lost Professor. Is it just me? Tata, can you hear Professor? I don't know if we'll be able to hear him. Maybe he's still talking. So I need to text him and tell him atumsikie. Hannah, sorry, we had to cut Professor short. Technology cut short. Hannah, as I try to reach Professor to see. Professor, are you back? Can see you're muted. Okay, so Professor unmuted, and is anyone hearing Professor?
No.
Maybe
Okay.
he can try to
Yeah, I
join
can
back.
see it's connected. Hannah, you came in after I had made the long prayer that the president prayed for Kenyans wakipata nyumba. And for a minute there, I said, hey, Mungu, pia Mungu anapiganga kura Kenya. Please talk to us about the poverty that we are witnessing. And also, I'm curious, no one is talking about what Sudi said. He said, if we don't win, they will come for us, they'll put us in jail. Can anyone put you in jail when you're innocent? Karibu, Hannah.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I see Professor is back. I don't know. Let him do a mic test and then you still go on. Professor, can you hear Hannah and myself?
yes, I can.
Okay,
Can you hear
so
me?
sorry, your thoughts? Yes, we can hear you. I don't know if you want to finish before the network goes off again.
Let me
We
finish.
lost you there.
Yeah, let me finish. Okay, let me finish. I think I was just saying that this handout, the way it is done, is like you're given some money. You're told go and vote. When you vote, and sometimes even you feign that you don't know how to read. So somebody who is in the polling booth helps you, and then you are told, after this person signals that you have voted correctly, then you'll be given the balance. So even these handouts that people are being given is part of the strategy. It's not like, it is not something that is people are just throwing money away. And therefore, like Flavia said, that is why, if there isn't significant political education in the 1450 wards, we can speak on these XSpaces. The opposition can they can meet and they can have many teas and stuff, but it will not still it will not work. So the job ile iko ni kubwa, na watu wakijua kwamba hiyo job ni kubwa, So that's when they will stop, saying that everybody doesn't like the president, therefore we are going to win. It's
Network imeponyoka professor tena. So I don't know if professor is really trying with the Swahili. And I think I'll send a link. Recently, professor was in an interview, he's talking about his life story. I got to know many things about him that I didn't know. For example, he's from a family with 29 siblings. Hannah, go ahead as we try and see if professor will come back.
Thank you very much, Redempta. Good evening, everyone. Um, you know, Redempta, when it comes to religion, mi sijui ni nini tumefanyiwa hiyo, not only Kenya but everywhere in Africa. I was in a meeting whereby it was challenging, where an ambassador was being asked question about their country, where they were coming from, and they were talking about the energy level, the energy which is being produced and all that. And one of the young guys asked a question, and it was because the ambassador had said something which was not making sense. And so instead of responding correctly, or even saying I did not maybe explain myself correctly, let me try again, or let me find somebody to give the right information, alishindwa kujibu. So there is this other guy who was next to him, who is really a PhD holder in I don't know what. He started talking about religion. Nakwambia hiyo the whole event, it changed from being something which was economic base to now to kanisa. Me, I was like, why? You are going there for a specific information or specific economic building relationship with other countries, and then kila kitu nageuka inakuwa kanisa. It was like people wanaekelelea mikono juu na wanaanza kuomba yes na mpaka you are like nini, because the African human person with the religion is in another level, and it depends on the church, on the country, because mostly the countries which are in the central part of Africa, those ones kwanza ndio zimeharibika kabisa. Hizo politician anaweza simama na akasema something stupid, but at the same time aseme hallelujah and everybody will say amen. It is in another level. I do not know how to even remove that problem out from because it just does not make sense anyway. I came up because I was very interested with the products which you were saying about how they are supposed to be labeled. Normally you have to have a product. For example, when products come from Africa, they have to be labeled, knowing that down there you have it made in or produced in, and you have to know the quantity. And so when then there is this nutrition of value which they usually put it there, and sometimes kwa sababu kila mtu amesoma kivingine, kuna mwenye amesoma science anaelewa haraka sana, na kuna mwenye hajaelewa because maybe amesoma other things, so it is normal. So what the government of European Union asked, he said this thing is going to confuse people. Si kila mtu amesoma, and green, which is good for the body, and E, which is bad for the body, completely bad. But because now you need energy, you can eat. Most of the things are things like Nutella, which is normally a E because it has a lot of sugar. When you come to Kenya, there is this sugar which is coming from other countries. Not even that, even the production of sugar itself, it is not good for the body. Normally, sugar is actually one of the things that you are being told by your nutrition is not to take a lot. Reason being, it is a blocker. It's a beta blocker. It blocks the mind from thinking correctly. And this is something that people, actually even kids, are asked as much as possible not to take in the drinks and all that. It is really bad, actually, but people do not. In Africa, we are not told these things. And so there is also the fact that when it comes to food stuff, the taxes are usually a fixed tax all over Europe. It is 5% of everything. In everything that you're going to eat, it is 5%. It cannot go up. When it comes to services, it is 20%. When it comes to things that you are drinking, like beer and all that, that is 20%. And it can go even higher when you are taking it from different places, like in the hotels or even in the restaurants. This with a reason, because it is not food. So these are things that the KEBS is supposed to look at. But Kenya, the taxes zikipandishwa hazishukagi chini, and it's very sad. And this is one of the things that makes me so sad. So I'll leave it to that, because I think that Kenyans, we have to block foodstuffs. When it comes to the food which we eat from agricultural products, we have to block. Oh, sorry. We have to block it. That way, it does not go like the way unga ilikuwa kwa 96 shillings, then all of a sudden it's 250, then all of a sudden inarudishwa 150. Hiyo ndio product sasa inakuwa ndio inatumiwa na government as a determinator of the riches or the best things that the governments are doing for the Kenyan people. I leave it to that for the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hannah. And 254 is not here today. You would have told us about the manufacturing laws. Professor, I don't know if you can hear us and you can land and make your last submissions, unless there's a question from the panelists as we close the space. Professor? Professor, we still cannot hear you. I can see you have unmuted, but we cannot hear you. Hannah, can you hear him? Okay, someone is interfering with Professor. Sijui ni vile amesema. Okay, so we can't hear Professor. So I would like us to do our final submissions. I don't know how many people in the panel want to conclude the space. I will start with Paul, if you're still there. Then Academia. Levia, Chacha.
Yeah, I'm still here though. If someone can go before me, then I'll probably go next or the third person.
Academia. Academia ameenda kula sima. Hannah, you've raised your hand.
Before I go out, I think that Kenyans, what we should do is you know how much you earn. That one is good. But now you have to calculate at the end of the month how much you pay as taxes. Just do the simple calculation to see how much the government you are giving to the government. I think Kenyans are going to be shocked. They are going to be shocked, and that is the minute as to why they will really react. Say we are just talking about numbers which we don't even have them. But if you have a receipt of unaenda kununua unga 120 na huyo mtu anakuambia 16% of that or 17% of that ni the tax, you put it at the side as this is what I have earned, this is what the taxes that I'm paying in every article that you are buying by the end of the month. That way even ule mtu wa chini akiona hiyo, akiona unamcalculatea and you're sitting down with that person and showing the person this is how much it's you are actually paying in form of tax. I think that one will make it will click. When it clicks, that's the time they really will understand. Hii mambo ya Mwenyezi Mungu asante and tunaombea nyumba, it will go down. And people will start reacting once they start understanding reality of how much you are paying and what you are supposed to get as services, and you are not even receiving anything. Pesa yote inaendea government and it's not coming back to you. That is what I would say as my parting shot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Flavia?
Okay, I'll quickly touch on your labeling of product liability. So under the law, there's a concept called strict product liability. Nimezunguka nikitafuta kazi, so law yangu imechanganyika, but still I think America is a common law country and Kenya is a common law country, so we are similar. So there's something called strict product liability. What that means is if you are a manufacturer or a seller of a product, whatever it is that you're manufacturing or selling, you're going to be liable for any defect on the product. Of course, it depends with, okay, strict product liability does not depend with the cause of the defect. So, and one area where someone is going to be liable is if whatever it is you're selling, you do not provide sufficient information on what it is that you're selling. So if the product has anything that is going to be harmful or would require direction from you, the manufacturer, on how the person should use it so that it's not harmful to them, you are supposed to provide that information. So for example, if there's any chance the product, let's say sugar, is going to have any traces of mercury or any traces of lead, that is very harmful for the body. So it's important for any person who's manufacturing it or reselling it for them to provide that information to the people so that they are aware that they are consuming something that has this and that and that. Failure to that in a normal working country, that aside. And then on an issue that I would like to put a voice on as well is the issue on recovery yenye Sudi amesema tutashikwa. I was having a conversation with a colleague from Ghana yesterday. Comparatively well right now because the amount of money they are recovering is catering for most of their budget needs. Mimi, I am very vocal on this and I write this anywhere and I speak of it every other time. The people who are going to take on leadership, any position, we are the ones who are incoming. The change, maybe let's say it will not be 100% in 2027, but I feel like it's going to be progressive come 2027 going forth. It is those hotels and it will become a source of revenue for us. Everything that has been taken, I think it's our responsibility to the extent we can trace it and it was illegally obtained for us to bring it back to the public. I think that's the only way we will get to deter, because people behave well when you either because it's in them to behave well or you deter them from behaving badly. I believe this is the only way we are going to deter corruption in this country. Otherwise tutaendelea tu na hizi kelele going forth every other time. And just finally, a second, I was attending a session today and it spoke on leadership. And what clearly came out to me is a leader is supposed to be something who is a carrier of not only their vision, in fact, not their vision, but the vision and the purpose of the people that are under them. So at the end of the day, we might keep on pointing fingers and saying, huyu ni huyu na huyu ni mbaya na huyu ni mbaya. But the moment you stand at the ballot box and you know this person does not have a track record of doing anything good, and you proceed to vote for them, we are the problem. If you know this person raped a child and you vote for them, we are the problem. If you know this person is a drug dealer and you vote for them, we are the problem. So as we engage in civic education, I think also let's
You know, what is very consoling for me is to know that they know eventually the law will catch up with them. If they didn't know, and that's why I think they are very careless. They are careless in that people who are very smart, they protect power by not giving too much. Controlling power, maybe Chacha can challenge me or academia. Ukikula unanyamaza. You know, when you start talking when food is in your mouth. Academia, you know a bit of law. I've never known if you are a lawyer. The fact that someone is going on a very academia.
Okay, Redemptor, we are closing this space, and where do you want me to start from? I was somewhere, and then nimesikia mkisema mambo ya manufacturing, mambo, so I don't know which
Hapana,
topic.
tunamaliza na millionaires. No, tunamalizia na millionaires. Here we are in a country where you said the beggars in the street are from Tanzania. But really, what is the way for us? What's the way forward for us with these people who are accruing more wealth every day?
First of all, when it's come to manufacturing, we have very good manufacturing laws that encompasses a broad range of regulations covering the production, quality, and all that. And with, again, other specific legislation and regulation bodies, the KEBS, that is Kenya Bureau of Standards, and we have the KRA, we have the Kenya Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, and even the State Department of Industry. All those ones, and again, other bodies like KEBS and other things. So I think for manufacturers, they are well covered in Kenya, so and there are specific body dealing with specific issues in manufacturing sector. Now, the millionaires and billionaires. One, we have to fix the politics. How we are going to fix this is the challenge. We know the problem. You see, I don't know why people keep on saying that a leader should be following people. No, it is people who should be following a leader. Why do you elect somebody? You elect somebody because you think, first of all, he has the knowledge of many things because he's one of you. So these leaders in Kenya are born in Kenya, raised in Kenya, and we elect them. So they are not strangers. It's like a father. You know, fathers, you don't need your kid to tell you that you should bring food at home. So you know that at this age, this is what I need to do for my son, for my daughter. When they become of age, they can now tell you how you relate with them. You get? Now, in this case, leaders are like fathers because they are born in this country, raised in this country, and we elect them. So they cannot all of a sudden, they are not aware of the problems, and therefore we need to tell them how to solve our problem. Why were we electing them in the first place? So when you elect a leader, they know what they're supposed to do. So we don't need to tell you what you're supposed to do. When you do the right thing, we know. When you do wrong things, that is when we have a problem with you. So the issue, we are supposed to tell leaders what they're supposed to do. That's wrong. Therefore, there are no reason why we elect them. We should be writing what they are supposed to do and not electing them and appointing people who are going to do those things. But the moment we elect them, they are supposed to do that which is right. So our leaders have failed us. What we need to do is to change the politics of it. There is nothing we are going to achieve unless we change the politics. Are we going to change it, the kind of policy we have? I doubt whether we will vote the good leaders, because the population of Kenya, a Kenyan voter, what we've been voting the same way. Maybe 2027 may be different. I don't see if there is going to be different, but there is possibility, and we've elected some few leaders, but we need numbers to change the narrative. So Redemptor Thailand, we must fix the politics for us to engage in any meaningful conversation as far as Kenya is concerned, because we will talk, but every talk must end with a politician for us to get a change. We don't have that unless we have taken that power on our own, and then we decide to do it. But as long as we believe the rule of law, we believe in not the rule of law, we will elect people, get into office, and we expect them to do. I wanted to ask Professor, but I don't know whether he's here or not. The reason why we have not implemented the teachers' report, I don't know the reason why, but it's because of politics. So we must fix politics in a place. Anything out devoid of politics is nullity.
Your last submission, Academia, umemaliza? Think you have. Academia, in the spirit of abusing religion, if I was to pray for all the doubting Thomases, I would make a prayer longer.
Religion.
Sawa, sawa.
Hii mambo ya religion umesema sana, lakini sikusikia hii story. First of all, I don't believe in this most of the past, because you see, I think the religion as an institution, it is one of the most difficult things to understand, because it depends on how you perceive it, how you want to relate with it. So there is no standard. That is why we have so many denominations around, so many. And I would be the first person to, because I will be running for president in 2052. For those who will be there, should be able to vote for me. One of the things that we need to do, especially in Nairobi, we must regulate these churches. Because when you go to Island, these people make a lot of noise in places where people live. Somebody is living and the church is on top, is 24/7. There are people who are suffering in this informal sector. We can't allow that. And that I agree with the Martha. There's sometime back, Martha said something that we need to regulate these people, so that we also need to see, if it is a church, church should be somewhere that people go. We cannot live with just the building. So I'm not part of your denomination, but I stay in that plot or in that apartment. On rooftop, there is a church operating 24/7. We can't allow that in a civilized society like we live. Let churches be where people can do it. Let churches not interfere with the daily operations of people where they are. And the reason is that they find themselves in the slums, and they believe that those will help those people in the slums. That is wrong. The government must move in to regulate that. I'm not against churches, but they must behave the same to other schools. There are schools that you just from your house and then you go to school and they make a lot of noise in the estates. And these people cannot talk about because they are cartels. So we need to remove them from those places. Now, concerning the president's prayer, the president has a right to pray. And I don't think there is something wrong with him, unless he quoted or he misquoted the Bible that we can verify, and many other politicians do so. So and even preach to people. For me, that is what I believe. Nobody is not a reserve for some exclusive people. It is something, it is gospel. It is for everybody. You choose to go that direction, it's okay. So I will land there. I will not debate it too much into the
Yeah, Academia, I would like to close the space, but I'm challenging you on this one because the prayer was to dedicate their houses and to pray and thank God for the levy that enabled. This is the work of God. They are not going to be in poverty. I don't think you have a right to pray for me as my president, even if I'm a Christian. I did not. If I wanted a pastor, I would have found one and a bishop for that matter. But as a president, that one I don't think his rights of beliefs, because what he was doing, I think Professor has already said, sometimes when you're communicating something, you think when you pacify it or you sugarcoat it with a prayer, then because I could also pray right now and pray about the poverty that is in this country and pray for all those people who will never see affordable housing. So I think for me, in my opinion, that prayer really did trigger me in terms of the misuse of prayers. Hannah, I'll let you go. Academic? Yeah.
Asante, sir.
That was,
Okay, so
yeah, that
I
was the
didn't know.
context. Yeah, that was the
Okay, sir.
context. And actually, I even read out the whole prayer and used AI to transcribe it. Hannah, I think we've lost Professor. So Hannah and Chacha, if you can hear me.
You know, when I was in my school, there's this sister. You know, it was a sister with the Catholic sisters. And they usually say, do the right thing at the right time with the right people for the right reasons. And we did not understand this until you grew up. When you grow up, you understand now. Kanisa or prayers, you do it in the right place. He's the president of Kenya. So it's the same thing as what Rigiji was doing. Because Rigiji now, he was talking about what? Tribalism. And which people are saying now it's not good. He was talking about all the people, only the people of Murima. In Kenya, we have two religion, even most. We have more. So those people who are being prayed for there, they were not, you mean to tell me there were no Muslims there? And that is not even the area where it was supposed to be prayed. If you are going to pray as a president, you should pray it in your office when you are deciding, okay, now we are going to do the affordable with your people, not to the population, because you are there to represent the people of Kenya. If you take President Ruto and take him to another country, and then they are inaugurating, for example, something, hata ambia huyo nini president now, can we pray? Hata watamwangalia kama mjinga, kwa sababu that is not the reason as to why he was invited or he is even participating in that place. So these things whereby everything we have to include religion in everything, I think we are being hoodwinked, and we were hoodwinked from long time ago. It's only that we did not even understand it until maybe right now when we are thinking differently and we are really suffering for real now, because now Mungu hataki hata anybody kukua poor. That's another thing. But when you go to the church, most of the people in there are poor people asking for help, asking for saving, asking for things which normally, for example, mtu ni mgonjwa anaambia una usiende hospitali, enda kanisa kwanza. Hiyo ujinga ya aina gani? That's why you are being told no problem, but still fast, go do something right. So this thing, we have to be very careful when we are tackling it. Religion is something very, very in deep in Kenya, and not only Kenya, I'm saying in the whole of Africa. And how to get it out from people, it's not that we are going to remove it atichukua funga hapa nini ni tufundisha, tutafundisha watu the real religion, if it really is a good religion, because good religion makes you think. It does not make you just to become a submissive thing whereby mnaambiwa sasa fanya hivi, fanya hivi. No, you have to think, you have to say yenyewe hii testament inaniambia nini, hii kitu inaniambia. That's why most people even in Europe, they do not even go to church, because walikanyangwa akadanganywa. Sasa siku hizi hata watakai kukanyanga hiyo kanisa for so many reasons. This is something we have to really think when it comes to now dissecting it and even thinking of finding a solution for it. we'll need to sit down with not only the professors, but also the religious people, and also the people themselves, the Kenyans themselves, so that we find a mix of where we have a yin and yang. Because when it's too extreme in all sorts of way, if it is too extreme, when too easy to go in, that one is bad. If it's too hard to go in, then that also is not good. So we have to find a mix whereby it is something which can be accessed by so many people easily, okay, but there is kuna vitu zingine zenye unatekena uambie what are you hata tunataka at the end of the year something like you can see if really this religion is helping you in a way, because watu wazee wamedanganywa pale, wengi sana wamepeleka mali yao ya uongo huko, wamepeleka huko, vitu zao zimeibiwa.
Asante sana Chacha.
Asante, nadhani hili la dini limekuwa zito, but for me I have no problem with the religion entirely. I have a problem with how it's exploited. It's in the same, or religion and ethnicity, especially in our community, in our country, they operate in the same wavelength. They sort of trigger the same response. I was brought up Christian, very, very serious. I think by the time I was in Form 2, I had read the Bible twice, back to back. I doubted religion and its role in the society. I think his name was Masoti. So when the pastor came to Kisii General Hospital back then to pray for the victims, not the victims, the injured, he told us how God loved us because you must have some very high level of cognitive dissonance for you to accept that belief. The mother had died. The son was, I think, around 11 years or so. And he had his leg, of course, amputated. And some of us, of course, after I think 3 weeks or so, we were discharged. We went home. Issue. And it's a cultural thing because it's been ingrained in you since you were young. And given that since you're young, then it becomes part of who you are. If I come and find you are singing hymns, I will join you. The same way, if I go to Kambani and find somebody eating mudokoi, I mean, it doesn't kill them, so it won't kill me. But at one point, as I summarize this, while presenting a strategy, there is no business strategy called prayer. So this whole thing is null and void. The fact that you want God to intervene for it to work. It really made me think a lot about being practical and being pragmatic. And so when you look at religion, in Japan, missionaries were killed, literally slaughtered. With a population of 100 plus million or so, they have barely 2 million Christians. In China, religiosity and poverty are almost at par. Even in Asian countries, ASEAN, it's the Philippines which are doing worse. The most religious people around that part. So religion has a role to play in our private life, but religion has no role to play in economics, in development. I can tell you for a fact. I will respect if I come and find you are a priest and you believe in that. I mean, I'm okay with that. But I will tell you for a fact, in my life, religion can only play so much role. It ends there. But you see, we are saved. We are saved. So it becomes even very difficult to have a society that really values morals. If religion were to help us out of this mess we find ourselves, then I will tell you for sure, Nigeria will be the richest country in the world, because they're more religious than we are. In fact, they have more churches than even I think hospitals. Even in Kenya, we have more churches than hospitals. I think we have more churches and then clubs, and maybe schools, of course, are more. But the priorities are different. As I learned, and do not come with those labels that you are an atheist. I'm not an atheist. I don't believe that those nonsense. That's a religion in itself. But I believe our traditional religion played a very pivotal role. In the 19th century, when the first missionaries came and they built the first church, in fact, John Craft in Rabai, I've been to that church. It's found in Kaloleni, in Kilifi County. Then we converted and thought that our religion was bad, but this one that was brought in a different form was the best. I am a courier. We had our religion. We used to worship, my grandfather used to worship the sun, literally, not that kneel at it, but wake up in the morning, say a few words, as he faces the east and goes back to his work. And then in the evening, before he goes to work, you read during the Inquisition, they killed so many people for being religious, for being Christians, and paganism was competing. But right now, religion is, in fact, if you look at the Pew Research, Christianity, for example, and now, of course, Islam is still growing, but they abandoned that. Religion served its purpose back then. Now they're more into science and things that are factual. Anyway, let me attend the kid, and then I come back. I'm here.
Okay. You have opened a can of worms. Wale wanapenda Mungu wao watakujia. But anyway, I get what you're saying, and I'll actually finish by sharing a bit of my findings about the Shakahola massacre. Some of you know I did a lot of investigations, and you'll be surprised that it is what is going on in this country right now. The kind of mind games that happen when you're dealing with poverty. That is why this topic was about the 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. Paul?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead,
Okay.
Paul. I can hear you.
When obviously some topics attached, obviously I kind of hold it. Obviously, academia talked and church talked about religion. I think people misconstrue religion and actually spirituality, and I think that you have to separate the two. And yes, we had our. I think we not dispute obviously. Obviously, the doctrine which was left for us or how it came to us, it's kind of different. The same way, like if you profess that religion and Christianity was brought by the white people and things like that, I think God works in very important. My people perish because of lack of knowledge. So the thing is, for example, like we have like God can choose to work through anybody. I don't disregard anyone I meet in the streets. I've learned in life it's important to listen more than to actually speak. I think people don't probably they've read the Bible, they read the letter, they don't understand the spirit behind the law. So you read it to understand and to comprehend, and this cannot be done through your normal mind. This has to be done through an understanding and wisdom and discernment of the word. For example, you will know them by their fruits. If the president stands up and prays, prayer is not bad, as academia said, anyone can pray, but you will know them by their fruits. I can stand here and preach or I pray, but if my deeds do not go with what I talk about, then definitely I'm not right. So I'm in the wrong side. So actually, that's what I said. The litmus test in all this is you will know them by their fruits. I cannot talk about good things and then the next day I'm repealing this, I'm doing things against the constitution, I'm stealing. Come on, my whatever I do speaks louder than words. So that's why I've always said, like, you will know them by their fruits. I always measure people by their fruits, not what they say. Like if someone says something, you listen to them, take it, and then see what is it fruits are right, then you will know this is good. So like, and so when it comes to, we should need to be very careful. Like when it comes to religion and everything, do not mock anyone's religion. Do not even like I respect people. I respect Muslims. I respect people. But at the end of the day, we always lead to the spirituality is about how you get to find God, and that is important. You cannot say that in politics you can't bring Christianity in politics. Basically, spirituality is we are spirit beings. That being, this body dies. That's why the body dies. I don't want to go into preaching and all that, but at the end of the day, we have to understand ourselves. We have to understand who we are before even we govern ourselves, because we can try to govern ourselves when we don't even know who we are as individuals. So that is another very key important thing. So like if we say that we trust we lead politics, politics is life. So in politics, in life, there's spirituality, and that's actually the most important thing in you is the way you breathe and live. The fact that you're living, that's when politics comes in. If you're not living, and another thing is obviously our land is very, very, very important, and that's I think what the essence we're talking about here, because everything stems from like the land and how the world was built, like where we are right now. So that's what I would say about like understanding like spirituality and our religion. Obviously religion can bring a lot of people will obviously not will argue, will go back and forth, and it can never end. But if you understand things, basically we are spirit beings, right? That spirit being is what is key. That is actually what makes us the same thing you can say as your neighbor lives well, you love yourself, which is the greatest command. Love yourself as you love your neighbor. Like that is the highest command of all. When there is there, you cannot have 10, you cannot be a billionaire or a millionaire and then you see people are perishing and then you're happy, then you're living happy life. Then that is there's no love there. I cannot be in my house or I see someone coming to beg for water or a drink or food, and then I don't give them, and I know I've got plenty in the house. There is no love there. So that spirituality, and it's all about love. Actually, you can say a religion. We can go in different words, but it's about love. It's about having love, and even I think even what we're talking about here, it's about making sure someone else doesn't suffer, doesn't go through like unnecessary hassle. Well, they can be made easily. We all gift in different ways. We'll have someone who'll be doctors, we'll have someone who'll be engineers, we'll have someone who'll be business people. But at the end of the day, we're here those roads. If I'm a doctor and I cannot treat people, then we all need to have that love. That's how I can put, even sometimes those religion and everything doesn't go right. So I think we all need to build the love for Kenya, because if Kenya has that love, then we won't be all this kind of predicament that we're in right now. I land.
Give you the mic. I think I have too many speakers, so I'll drop.
And is that somebody, there are around 3 supporting churches operating within the residential areas where they make a lot of noise for me. So that is what I said. I did not oppose any church. So, and then as these people, it is not possible that over the years that God have been giving us wrong leaders. These are the kind of mentalities that the African or leaders, it doesn't make any sense to any reasonable person. So those are the things that we need really to get out of our mind and say we cannot blame God for giving us Ruto. So if God chose for us Ruto, so today we can go to God and tell God to get Ruto out.
Us to get off key. I don't want us to lose the conversation. This is not about your faith, what you believe, what you don't believe. This is about a specific incident where the president prayed. And I transcribed that prayer using the little AI that I could summon. And the conversation started with, you believe in God? Do you believe in God? How many of you believe in God? Raise your hand. Alikuwa anasema na Kiswahili. Nani anaamini kuna Mungu? Wale I had was the content of that prayer. He requests respectfully, if you're wearing kofia, toa kofia ndio tuombe. And akaanza maombi. And then he switched to, when you come to address the issue of religion, please remember it's about this. He'll say, he said that God, I will pray for, I pray for the new houses. Akatoa kofia and then akaanza. Sorry, just give me a minute. I have to do this. Let us pray. Our Father, we come before you this morning, this ceremony, and this handover of our great nation today. Heavenly Father, we are handing over keys to these new homes, to these loved ones. So these people from Mukoro kwa Njenga, Mukoro kwa Ruben, Maroroine, Fuatanyaya, and all the places they have a place to call home. In the sense that when you're elected, even if you're a father, and you then are awarding some children prayers to thank God for giving them homes and land, and then you don't pray, you know very well in that home, there's a child will not go to school, there's no school fees, and then you bring all your children together and you say, I want to thank you that we have been able to manage to get school fees from Wikali, but and we pray for all the others in this family who are not able to go to school, they are living in deplorable. And ask, do you people know what 10,000 can do? And goes to explain to a border person who is being arrested because they are picking. And today I feel like I have been ignited to have this conversation of the slums, because it does not matter if you are a miracle worker, you're not going to remove people from the slums, all of them. And I know you're going to give me that example of shells that were being saved, and you made a difference in this one. I also have a problem. I have a problem with that. Mess up the country in terms of governance. Academia, there's a whole book about it's not about what if God is for us. It is if we are with God. It's that from Lincoln. But in Kenya, for the do like to read the Bible. But when I realized this word was being used in churches, I said, I did not leave God. I left church. We're seeing they come together when they are told we start licensing you, and I said I cannot finish to give you the opportunity if you can't talk about what you're doing, because I think that it's one thing I need to support you in what you're doing. Western, yes, I see you. Nyati, you are here before. Data and in honorable engineer is new. So data activists, I'll let you go first, and then I'll try to admit the new.
Also very passionate about it. Yeah. And let's put religion aside kidogo. China has the second largest population in the world. And look at its poverty rates. They're among the lowest. Yeah. The maandamano in June 25th. Yeah. Last year. After that, and after homes, because of how they had voted. And they were welcomed. Situation one. Situation two is you find someone wants to fill a stadia when he attends, when he's campaigning, and money is poured so that that stadium can be filled. People are being paid to attend. Yeah, that is poverty being propagated. That government data shows that this country has become, people have become poorer since this government came in. And it's government data. Yeah. And because we have the power. Someone talked about the leadership. I haven't seen any single party come forth and say, when us guys are elected, one of our key performance indicators will be the reduction of poverty in this country. None. In fact, I don't know or otherwise, so that we can judge them by those numbers. Because why is it in this country there are 6 countries? Things don't add up. Yeah, and yes, it boils down to the leadership, but it also boils down to the people. Of the people. I'll give you another example. The Central Bank of Kenya produces a survey every so often before the Monetary Policy Committee sits. And in that survey, the as far as the economy is concerned, on how they can grow the economy, the sector, the financial sector. And one of the things that they're most concerned about constantly, and yet you'll find the same government, and yet the people that are saying you want a job, but you don't have a CV ready. Yeah, it's good to be practical. Because when you vote for someone, you're basically giving them your power. You have the power. But by voting, you're saying, I am transferring this power to you, who I am voting for. So that person you're voting for, what are they going to do for you as the people? And that's how they control us. Yeah. In a nutshell, I know I can go on about this for a while, and I know we're winding up. But
are you singling the Kambas out of it? Because the intention is not good. Professor, you are back. Sorry. Through using religion, enticing people, talking about God's will, God's power, when what you're really talking about the power you hold, as a leader. So I don't know if I'll let Achilles share. I see you and I'm trying to give you the mic. We have a new. And then Nyati, did you want to go again? You can raise your hand.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Just allow me to do my piece. And
Go ahead, Tariq.
Citizens in this nation. It is ikiwa na hasara, masafara ikiwa na hasara, masafara wameibua akili na pesa za wananchi zinashambuliwa na walafi wanafiki. CDF, sera zote za serikali zisaidie wananchi, zimeko opportunity ya wanasiasa kutuumiza. Millions being stolen on a daily basis, only feeding their stomachs. Tukiuzwa kwa mapeni na bado tuko kwa madeni. Maisha imegeuka ngumu to an extent, Karawa anaitisha hongo kama basic need, na still anakufinyia pingu mikononi eti anafuata sheria ama ni sheria mkononi. Uongo mtupu. Majaji wamewekwa kwa mifuko ya wenye hela. Wanahabari walikuwa na haya ya kusema. Shefe will never be the same usoni mwa majaji. And then we call for justice, na huku pesa ndio inaongea. Majaji kotini wanasuluhisha kesi na bado wanafinywa bahasha kwa koti. Ni ripoti tulipewa na wanahabari before wananchi wazame kwenye bahari la umaskini. Scary because at this point churches are our only hope. Poverty brings citizens together and the need of wanting a better country, but mifuko yetu ndio inatugawanisha. Same cause, same race, but different journey. Hapo ndio kuna tofauti ya hasara na safari. Free us from these hungry millionaires claiming to love God and his people, but yet put heavy taxation on them. Haitwa ukombozi mambo leo. We go back to our houses asking God to take away the heavy cap on us, na still hawker na beggar wako kwa streets vikombe mkononi. It's never back to you, Redemptor.
Nikifanya hivyo ungekuwa karibu. Points. I should be right today. That's a wonderful piece. And
on wale wenye wako na bodaboda hapo, wenye wako na boda ndio wapeleke I think 1 or 2 trips at least wapate something juu ya hiyo, but they are saying they don't have jobs, even the skilled ones. We also went to a certain home, and one of the people in these homes is taking care of the cows there, and that really tells you how dire the situation is. We have people who've gone to school, someone who's spent about 7 or so years in med school, They are out of med school. There's no job. They've not been employed by the government. And even those that are employed are, striking every other day because of the CBA. And the other day we had the UHC officers going to the streets, and some of them actually were involved in an accident and died before they even got to the streets to express their dissatisfaction. A country of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. It is never enough for them. And every other day, someone creates something, or someone creates, they create a project, quote unquote, to be able to siphon money through such projects. And that is why we see there is always, it's not renovation really. The only thing that probably just an eighth of the amount allocated for that renovation will go into the renovation, because at the end of the day, we must see photos that the State House was actually renovated. But a huge chunk of these amounts go to people's pockets. A huge chunk of the amount goes to people's pockets. If you see a regime committed to changing systems, even those that work, and I keep saying this, someone somewhere used 104 billion to change N to S, from NHIF to SHIF, just changing that. They spent 104 billion Kenya shillings belonging to Kenyans. So they want to change something just because they want some. Really, it's not that they actually want something that works. They don't want systems that work. They only want to find ways to siphon money from the consolidated fund, and whatever it will take, they will do it. Right now, I'm aware they want to, they have started the conversation about the NEMIS system for registering students or pupils. And now someone has started a conversation somewhere that it's not working, and they'll push it. They'll seriously push it to the wall, and to the extent that people will actually get to, and they'll give reasons, which actually are not reasons, but they'll find ways to ensure that there's another expenditure, on finding, quote unquote, a better system that works for registration of children in schools. Now, in short, we are at a point where the haves want to have even more, and the haves want to drain us dry. It doesn't matter how much they have saved. It doesn't matter how much they have stolen. What matters to them is that 100 years to come, maybe the traces of their wealth will still be as huge as what some of us have now, and that their families and their generations to come will live to maintain their names, or to probably, I don't know what's in their heads. I don't know what is the goal, but that is where we are at. We are at a point where they don't care about any other person. I was telling someone the other day that Ruto only cares about, and I'm saying this very bluntly to, regarding an individual. He only cares about what brings him money as an individual, and any other thing that ensures Kenya, or rather Kenyans, are desperate. So the more desperate Kenyans are, the happier he is. When we cry, he is happy, because then that means that we are, at his mercy. That is in his head. How then do we ensure that we get ourselves off the hooks of such a person? We have to consolidate. And I'll always repeat this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the differences that we have, because I can forces to come together. It's not easy. And every other day there's a difference, you differ on something or the other. And some of these play to the extent that some people may want to leave, or some people may want to now start something else. But no matter that, no matter anything we may differ on, we must find a common ground. We must find a common ground to ensure that this regime and all the enablers of these activities of the regime, we must drain the swamp. So I don't know whether it's also the right time. I don't think I'm going to get another time to speak, because and I've touched a little bit on what we are trying to do. It's important that I just complete. We are trying to bring voices together, especially young voices, and that work is not easy. Sometimes I make a post and someone says that's a waste of time. Sometimes I make a post and someone says tafuta kazi. There's one who told me today, cancel, look for a well-paying job, stop doing these theatrics here and there. But someone may not understand why maybe I am doing this. Someone may not understand why the other young people that we work together with are doing this. For some people, it looks like jokes. For some people, it looks like a child play. For some people, it looks like we are trying to get money through this. Not knowing that sometimes we go to the extent, most times we go to the extent of spending our own money to do what we are doing. Except, of course, apart from a few friends that we have who've been able to support what we're doing, sometimes we use our own money to buy food, to buy fuel. But one thing we believe in is that the goal must be achieved no matter what. So today we were in we were in Kibingoti, we were in Karatina, and we were also in and I can tell you, ground imechemka. And especially I was specifically happy about the women who work in, or who the women traders in the market. They received us very warmly. And because we had flags, some flags around our necks, flags around our wrists, they saw the flags and they just shouted at us, Gen Z. And so the moment we said yes, they were like, "Ai, kujeni. Ebu ongeani na mama wenu. Tusikie mnasema aje." And they were calling one another and saying, "Kujeni Gen Z wanataka kuongea na sisi." It was so good. I mean, it was so interesting. I felt it so deeply that these people are actually connected with the issues that we are facing on the ground, that if they find an alternative reason for free, and they're telling you, bado tuko na uchungu, watoto wetu waliuawa, watoto wengine walishikwa, hatujawahi wapata. And they feel what the other parents, the actual parents victims felt. They still feel it. And they feel that they're part of that. And they feel that this is all for all of us. So really, the positive reception on the ground says it all. And before, many people used to say, you Gen Zs, you're just digital wankers. You're making a lot of noise online, but when it comes to doing the real work, going to the ground and actually ensuring that people buy into the idea of having a complete overhaul, you don't do it. You don't go to the ground. But now we have started doing the same. We have started even, forming structures. And one of the very things that people have been talking about when it comes to structures is being able to fundraise and having a common pool where not an individual controls everything. An individual doesn't control everything, because we've had erosion of trust before, where we have people fundraising, but through their individual phone numbers. We have even made efforts to ensure that we have account and we have at least 3 signatories, and we've even committed to be giving out periodical statements, so that then people can know what we are up to, what we are doing, and all that is going on. We have also made effort in sharing what we are doing. Sometimes some of us go live so that those who want to engage live and ask questions, even as we do this, can ask questions. We are doing all this in a bid to ensure that we actually have a concurrence, and that people are able to follow up on what we are doing. And that because not wherever, those of us who at least have been able to go to the ground and I've gotten the gist of it, and are actually on the ground, are able to be supported. This is the same tactic that Morara used. I told them, no, with Morara raising funds, it is the best way to finance campaigns, or to finance such campaigns that we are doing now. It's the best way, because look, we have not stolen like they have. We do not not working. Some of us do not have their own businesses. And that means if we said we are going to do this on our own, we cannot. And that means everyone who believes in what we are doing should be able to, in one way or another, support what we are doing. So I support financing should come from the people. But what matters most is the transparency and accountability that comes with that. So that then people are able to know that what they're contributing for is actually done. And that which they've contributed is used frugally in the activities that the team is doing. So thank you. Maybe I'll share the pay bill if you allow me. But before then, I thank you so much, Redemptor. I thank everyone.
Go ahead, you can share. Do you have it? You can also post it on the comments.
Yes. The pay bill is 542542, and account number is June 25th, 2024. That is 6/25/24.
Oh, okay. That's a great, easy to remember number. I had recommended that you make a poster. I don't know if you remember. And you remember Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila and all these big wigs holding a pay bill number? Then they went ahead to boycott the elections. And so for the first time, this is one Changa bid. Asked Joshua that I kept saying at the onset of this, at the height of this, that the people who could give, they chose who they gave, and then they got attached to the people they gave. Those who gave them for the medical care, we will never thank you enough. Maybe a life was saved because of the medical interventions that were there. But just because someone was dealing with the money doesn't mean their role was more important than the next person. And there's this urge to have figureheads of revolutions or agitations. And when I saw Joshua and his group put up a poster, I told him, please don't do that. I don't know. They went and said Redemptor is being hard on us. I'm like, you cannot do what the system is doing. Continue to be just Kenyans who love kama target. Mko na njaa sana, unafanya mchanga, wacha nitafute moja, then the group is divided. But what I believe is your late get funding, but this is now authentic in the sense they are saying we've tried this before, it did not work, but we cannot keep saying paid activism. I almost I brought people who are very destitute burnout. So I'm making this appeal at young people need all the support they can get. I think they've been tested through the time. They've had offers. Some changia siku zile maandamano ilikuwa imechacha. Then there was nowhere else to go. Some of them ended up now loose cannons. I sometimes think the state will undermine them. And because they're also going through the country and speaking, they can't stop them from preaching. But what they'll from talking, what they will do is let's see where these efforts will go. When they go to the village, those people are no. What they do, they give those women in the marketplaces audience because people need to talk. People need love this nation has for anyone who is not stealing. It might not be even put in words. I think I saw Nyati's hand go up. I see Tom Boya come. Japonja, try to give you the mic.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on Western. Nyati, go on.
Very quickly, Redemptor, thank you. Before I even say that, I really want to congratulate you for all the work and your efforts, the things that you've been doing on the ground. You don't know me, but I've been watching you. And I want you to know that you have a lot of respect from a lot of people in the diaspora. You're to you. I wanted to give you your flowers. Now, on to my point. You mentioned about crowdfunding, Morara, and this and that. I really want to therefore, we need to pull in resources together to actually mobilize and get things done. One thing I'd like to Joshua comes here, the way he said his pay bill, and we are all in this meeting here, the way we are, say we are perhaps 500 people, and we say, watu ebu fanyeni hivi, 2050, 2100. If 500 people, so moja so mbili, you'll find that you actually generate this funding. And if we do this every so often, Sagana, definitely somewhere near Sagana. So gentlemen, my point is, I agree with Josh. I really appreciate you. Thank you. I learned. Hebu nitoe kwa speaker, nataka nisikie tu sasa.
Hata tutakaa sana. Today I don't know why Professor leo space yake amekatazwa kuongea na sisi. Yes, you're here before. Joshua got to speak. Joshua, I'll let you probably just respond to Nyati after Yasa has spoken. Just hang in there. You've had a long day. Yasa?
Can you guys hear me? To me, tukiangalia hizi vitu ambazo zinakuwa zikihappen, I'd really like us not to think about the crowdfunding and how to. This is one of the things yenye will always affect us. The problem that we should be talking about ni hile Daktari, you will wake up in the morning, Joshua, to go to church. No one will have called you. And this is the advantage people have taken up, because they know the only place they can be able to sell out their lies, it is in a church. How do we make sure civil servants and everyone who is involved in procurement, involved in all these issues, wanapatikaniwa vipi? Because I look at this situation ni kama when you're in a family and then you're the atanikujia mimi. We will never come to that further, definitely, because we have this hawa watu wa chini wenye wanazuilia hizi. Ni ukweli, decisions being made by one person itatu affect for the rest of our lives, and if we don't find a solution on how we are going to protect these issues, we will be doomed each and every 390 people, then only 10 people are the same people. You don't expect to make any decision in a community. People are talking about change, because you will be crippled, you will not be in any committee, you will not say anything, your mind million using. Make sure